Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome back to my channel that talks about the business analysis. And I am a CBAP professional, and my name is Varun Pawar. And hope you are liking my videos. That is for the CBAP professionals to get certified and sit in exam with confident. So here I am providing you the tutorials, the material, and the few resources for you to learn and understand. So far, what we have learned is the strategy analysis knowledge area and all the four activities that is analyze current state, define future state, assess risk, and define change strategy. So today we'll talk about the next knowledge area, very important knowledge area, that is BAPM in short, and it stands for Business Analysis Planning and Monitoring. So the objectives of planning BAPM is, these are basically the different activities you can see. If I can do like this, these are different activities in this knowledge area. So just understand in that way, remember in that way, like there are four activities, that is the planning, and the last activity, that is the monitoring and the controlling. So first, plan business analysis approach. Here we are planning or doing planning or business analysis work from creation or selection of methodology to planning the individual activities, tasks, and deliverables. Plan stakeholder engagement. That's the second activity in this knowledge area. Which stakeholders are relevant to this change? What business analysts need from them? What they need from business analyst, and the best way to collaborate. And then third activity is plan business analysis governance. It defines the components of a business analysis that are used to support the governance function of the organization. It helps ensure that decisions are made properly and consistently and follows a process that ensures decision makers have the information they need. So wherever you see the governance, it talks about the decision making and the authority. Plan business analysis information management. That's a fourth activity. It defines the information developed by business analyst, how the information developed by business analyst is captured, stored, and integrated with other information for long-term use. So you can relate it with the, if you people know about the Jira, Trello, uh, like any other tracking tool like quality control. So you can relate this business analysis information management system with that. Identify business analysis, and that's the last activity in this knowledge area. Identify business analysis performance improvements. It describes managing and monitoring how business analysis work is performed to ensure that commitments are met and continuous learning and improvements opportunities are realized. So as I said, four planning and one is the monitoring and controlling of the performance of business analyst. So what activities business analyst is performing, this activity will track and monitor the performance of the activities of business analyst. So again, the similar table here for you. Plan BA approach. In Plan BA approach, that we have five activities: plan business analysis, plan stakeholder engagement, plan business analysis governance approach, plan business analysis information management, and identify business analysis performance improvement. So what are the input for different activities? So the very important, since we are talking about the first activity here, plan business analysis approach. So very important input is need. Only when the need is there, then only you will able to decide, you will able to plan the business analysis approach as a business analyst for your activities. uh, we'll talk about, and you also remember that the output of the first activity in most of the cases is an input for the second activity. So see here, business analysis approach, we got an output. Then business analysis approach is an input for plan stakeholder engagement. And then stakeholder engagement approach, output, and then that's input plus the business analysis approach, output of the first activity, becomes the input for the third activity, which is plan business analysis governance approach. Decision making, here you need the information related to the stakeholder engagement and business analysis approach. And then you get the governance approach. Plan business analysis information management, that takes all the output that you get from all the first three activities, which is governance approach, stakeholder engagement approach, and business analysis approach, and which give you a resultant, that is information management approach. And then identify performance analysis. And there, the performance objective external, this has been set on organization level, like the KPIs that is set for the business analyst, the your KRI is been defined, and based on that, you've been apprised, and your performance is being measured. And business analysis approach, the output of the very first activity, and it gives you business analysis performance assessment. So far, plan business analysis approach. The purpose of plan business analysis approach is to define an appropriate method to conduct business analysis activities. So this is important, like you as a BA is working on different activities, on different knowledge areas. So what activities you will perform for the specific project or a specific task. So it defines that. Overall method that will be followed when performing business analysis work on a given initiative. How and when task will be performed and the deliverables that will be produced. Business analysis approach may be defined by a methodology or by organizational standards. It may be tailored to the need of specific initiative. The business analysis approach should align to the overall goal of the change, coordinate the BA task with the activities and deliverables of the overall change, include tasks to manage any risk that could reduce the quality of business analysis deliverables or impede task efficiency, leverage approaches and select techniques and tools that have historically worked well. So these are very textual slide it was, and yes, obviously you have to go through all those points because from the exam point of view, every line is very important for you to understand. So that's why it's to text. Most of the slides would be full of text, so please bear with me for that. Now let's talk about this inputs. So far that you know that for business plan business analysis approach, we have one very important input, that is needs. Once you have a need, then only you'll able to come to like, okay, which business analysis approach you have to follow. And apart from the need, there are few other guidelines and tools that is also act as an input for helping you. So which is like business analysis performance assessment. Uh, and this is as you know, like business analysis performance assessment is the last resultant from the last activity of BAPM, which talks about identify business analysis performance assessment. So why this is here is because the result of the previous assessment help you to give a chance to improve things. So that's why this is important input here. Business policies basically act as a constraint, and it puts the limits. It's talk about the limits, regulation agreements, contract deals, certification warranties, and legal obligation. Then expert judgment is a kind of like you are talking to a subject matter expert, which will provide you the optimal BA approach. So basically this expert judgment is to select the optimal BA approach. Then the methodologies and frameworks. So if your organization is already good in resource and methodologies and framework in place, that will help you to tailor your BA approach. So tailoring is very important. So if you have good resources, that will help you to optimize and you can tailor your approach accordingly, which will be effective and efficient. Then stakeholder engagement approach, it helps you to understand the stakeholders, their influence, authority, their impact, their interest, their style, their communication way of communication. So lot of things you can understand from a stakeholder engagement approach, and that could help you to devise an effective business analysis approach. So remember, one is need, which is very important, and apart from this, there are a few guidelines and tools. Then there are 6 total elements of plan business analysis approach. The first one is planning approach, which talks about which approach you have to go with, either with the predictive or the adaptive. If you people have worked with the waterfall model, this software development lifecycle models we have. So if you have worked with predictive approach, then waterfall model, then you will understand that what is predictive. And if you have worked as a agile, like working in agile environment, you are following some sprints, releases and all, then you will understand adaptive approach as well. So what is this predictive approach in that term? Basically, predictive approach, it helps you to minimize the risk. How? Because everything is decided upfront. Each and everything or the documentation is being created, and the schedule is being set, and the budget has been decided, and the resources has been documented, and everything is being set in initially, and then you start working on that. So the risk is very minimum. So minimizing upfront uncertainty and ensure that the solution is defined before implementation begins in order to maximize control and minimize risk. Adaptive approaches. This focus on rapid delivery of business value in short iteration in return for acceptance of higher degree of uncertainty regarding the overall delivery of the solution. So below is a table for you to understand the predictive and adaptive approach. You can pause this video and you can read it through. Then we have second element that talks about the formality and level of detail of business analysis deliverables. Here we are talking about again the predictive approach and adaptive. Predictive approaches typically call for formal documentation representations. So in predictive approach, upfront you create every documentation handy that you follow during the execution phase. Adaptive approaches favor defining requirements and design through team interaction and gathering feedback on a working solution. Formal documentation is often produced after the solution is implemented to facilitate knowledge transfer. So in adaptive approach, since that's very dynamic, and when you are working with the sprints, every sprints you decide the which requirements will go in a release, and at the end of the release you are creating a release notes. So the documentation is produced either after every sprint or release or at the end of the project, which is basically used for then knowledge transfer. It's kind of a learning document that you create. Then the third element is business analysis activities. So it talks about the type of activities that the business analyst will perform during the entire, life cycle of the requirement, and identify the activities required to complete each deliverable, and then breaking each activity into task, dividing the work into iteration, identify the deliverables for each iteration, and then identifying the associated activities and tasks, or using a previous similar initiative as an outline and applying the detailed task and activities unique to the current initiative. Timing of business analysis work, that's the fourth element. So timing of business analysis work impacted by the availability of resources, the priority and or urgency of the initiative, other concurrent initiatives you are working with, constraints such as contract terms or regulatory deadlines. All these factors affect the timing of business analysis work. The fifth element, which is complexity and a risk. The complexity and the size of the change and the overall risk of the efforts to the organization are considered when determining the business analysis approach. So when we determine like which business analysis approach, predictive or adaptive, we have to go with, we also consider the complexity and the risk involved with the project. Complexity and the risk increases or decreases, the nature and scope of business analysis work can be altered and reflected in the approach. The approach may also be altered based on the number of stakeholders or business analysis resource involved in the initiative. As the number of stakeholders increases, the approach may be adjusted to include additional process steps to better manage the business analysis work. So this last point is very important, and I can expect one or more questions from that. So the approach may also be altered based on the number of stakeholders or business analysis resource involved in the initiative. So as the number of stakeholders increases, the approach may be adjusted to include additional process steps to better manage the business analysis work. So other factors that can impact complexity that include size of the change, number of business areas or system affected, geographic and cultural consideration, technology complexities, and any risk that could impede the business analysis effort. Then the factors that can impact the risk level of business analysis efforts include experience level of the business analyst, obviously, extent of domain knowledge held by the business analyst, level of experience stakeholders have in communicating their needs, stakeholders' attitude about the change and business analysis in general, amount of time allocated by stakeholders to the business analysis activities, and a pre-selected framework, methodologies, tool and or techniques imposed by organizational policies and practices and cultural norms of the organization. So all those factors that affect the business analysis, uh, it's a very important. Like if I am a fresher and I'm just recently working as a business analyst, then obviously I don't know what sort of activities I have to perform. So that's very important. You should have a good experience or good hands-on experience in doing business analysis. The domain and wherever you are working, suppose you are working in any e-commerce platform, you should be aware of the terminologies that is related to the e-commerce. Then suppose and if the stakeholders are there which are not able to communicate if their requirement effectively, then obviously that would lead to the confusion and too many iteration for the requirement elicitation, which is a time consuming process, and that would ultimately affect the performance of the business analysis activity. Stakeholder attitude about the change and business analysis in general. So few stakeholders don't consider the business analysis as an important phase because they say that this is not important, or they don't give a much important value to this. So their attitude should be very professional, and they should understand the business analysis role of business analyst. The amount of time allocated by stakeholders to the business analysis activities. So it depends totally on the value, the activities that you are working on. So suppose there are 10 requirements that you have to deliver during one sprint or a release, but the time that is allocated to you is not enough to do the analysis of those requirements, is not worthy then. So this is basically the you do the negotiation with the stakeholders that we'll talk about in next few slides, when we'll talk about the new more knowledge areas, then we can talk about those. But just understand that business analyst is a superhero, and he do everything in business analysis domain. Either they have to go one step further to negotiate with the stakeholders, he do that part as well. Any pre-selected framework, methodologies, tool, and or technique imposed by organization policies and practices. So this is a kind of a constraint, the limit, I would say, that comes from the business policies, cultural norms of the organization, and this is also very important that the people and the stakeholders that is in the organization, they follow some norms or culture. They comes from a specific culture. So to work with those people, you should understand the culture. The sixth and the last element, acceptance. Business analysis approach is reviewed and agreed upon by key stakeholders. Whatever the approach you are going with, that should be communicated, or that should be discussed with the stakeholders who are involved with you during business analysis activities, and that should agree on that particular approach. In some organizations, the business analysis process may be more structured and require key stakeholders to sign off on the approach to ensure all business analysis activities have been identified. So, so it's like we have the six knowledge areas we have, and in those six knowledge areas, we have around 30 activities. So, in particular organization, if we are talking about any project, so it's not necessary that all the activities that you will perform. It depends totally on the initiative and the what change you are going to deal with. And based on that, if the organization is organic or projectized organization, which is that follow each and every process and have dedicated roles to perform the activities or the task. There you would be getting a formal sign off from stakeholders related to the approach that has been decided. Any issue raised by stakeholders when reviewing the approach are documented by the business analyst and resolution are sought. So if any issue is raised by stakeholders when reviewing the approach, so that thing, the business analyst itself document that, that feedback, and then sort the uh, solution from the upper management. So who are the stakeholders now who deal with whom you talk with while doing business analysis uh, approach, planning business analysis approach? So domain subject matter expert is very important. So if suppose if domain subject matter expert is not there, then that's a kind of a risk. So his availability is a must. PM, the project manager, he tells about the realistic approach for like schedule and timelines and compatible with other activities. So like the activities that business analysts perform should align with the realistic approach of like time schedule with the project. Regulator approval for the tailored approach. So the regulator is basically it could be on organization level as well as the outside of the organization. So those who are on like at the organization level, you have to get a special approval from those regulators for your tailored approach. And what is the tailored approach? Tailored approach is um, uh, we have talked about the adaptive and predictive approach. So in some of the projects, the people go with the hybrid approach, which says like a certain time period you have to be on a waterfall model, that is a predictive approach, while you are working with a MVP, minimum viable product. and once you deliver that product, afterward you start doing the adaptive approach. So this is a kind of hybrid model. So all those things or all those approaches, signed off, and approvals has been provided by the regulators at the organization level. Then we have the sponsor, who provides the needs and the objective of the particular initiative that you are working with. And yes, the output that we get from this is business analysis approach. It identifies the business analysis approach and activities that will be performed across an initiative, including who will perform the activities, the time and sequence of the work, the deliverables that will be produced, and the business analysis techniques that may be utilized. The remaining output of the business analysis planning and monitoring knowledge area may be integrated into an overall approach or to be independent based on upon methodology and organization and perspective. This business analysis approach, the output of this activity, is used in many other activities. We'll talk about that in later slides or in our upcoming videos. And then important this technique. So I would say please pause the video, go through those techniques, and just understand why these techniques, just try to relate why these techniques is used in planning business analysis approach. That's it. That's from my end for the very first activity for planning business analysis, that is under the BAPM, business analysis planning and monitoring. And today we have discussed plan BA approach. Thanks for watching my video. I would be waiting for your questions and queries, and I would be happy to answer all those. Please see my other videos that would be provided somewhere here up, and hope to meet you soon. Till then, take care and goodbye.